going on, everybody? Welcome back. Happy Easter. I hope that you got stuffed full of good old MLS action this weekend around some family stuff, NCAA tournament, all the other good stuff in the sporting world. MLB opening weekend. Yeah, we had another good week of MLS. Things are starting to ramp up. Data points are coming in. Patterns are starting to be found. Themes, all that good stuff for people trying to find meaning in all of the action, all the games. Coming off Easter, I feel like this is a good time for me to confess I don't like chocolate. I'm a bit of a psychopath, so it's a little bit difficult for people in my life to try to get me candy. I've been routinely made fun of it for all my life, and I've got no defense. I'm with you. I think it's weird that I don't like chocolate either. So just felt like that was a necessary confession to make here the day after Easter Sunday, if you celebrate, and just in general. Maybe this would be better around Halloween, but I don't feel like waiting. I wanted to get this off my chest and let you guys know if you need to unsubscribe. I get it. Fair enough. We can move on. We're going to do something a little bit different. The bit for MLS 5-a-side this week is going to be 5 questions. So coming at you, MLS 5-a-side Week 6 question form right now. MLS 5-a-side question number 1. Are the LA Galaxy legitimate trophy contenders? Yes, I know that I've spoken about the Galaxy a few times already in these installments. I'm going to try to lay off them in the future, but they have been one of the most interesting teams in the league this year. They're one of the most watchable. That's what I was saying last week. And they kind of had a big development this weekend. They kept a clean sheet. They actually kept a clean sheet against the Seattle Sounders in a 1-0 win. Kind of my first thought about the Galaxy defending well, potentially, was this Happy Gilmore quote.
Happy learned how to putt. Uh-oh.
If Happy learned how to putt, if the LA Galaxy learned how to defend and learn how to keep clean sheets, this team might be, one of the best 3 in the league. But I think this had more to do with Seattle's impotence than it did the Galaxy turning a defensive corner. Look at the XG. That's obvious. Again, this had more to do with Seattle being bad in attack, straight up, than I think the Galaxy's defense. But like everything else in life, it was a little bit of both. So it's a very encouraging sign. I do not want to take away from the fact that the Galaxy kept a clean sheet. It is extremely important. They are absolutely within the trophy contenders because, again, there's a lot of variance in this league. There's a few trophies on hold. Like in knockout tournaments like Leagues Cup and the playoffs, I think that they're going to do well because of the individual attacking quality that they have. And I do expect the defense to continue improving. I don't think that anybody will mistake them for being, 2022 Philadelphia Union or Nashville any of these years or Red Bulls any of these years. But if they're league average in defense, this team is going to be very good. And again, whether or not that holds up over a tournament in tournament play, we'll see. But I think that at least puts them within legitimate contention to win trophies. I also think that this defense is going to improve. Again, I don't think that it's going to be a top 5 defense in the league, but look, Gaston Brugman made his first start of the season, and they got their clean sheet. I don't believe that there's a coincidence there. Last week, Brugman subbed in with the Galaxy down 2-0 to Sporting Kansas City. They won 3-2. 2 weeks before that, he subbed on against Nashville SC. They were down 2-0, and they tied 2-2. Look, causation versus correlation, I get it. Small sample size, whatever. It's not like he had 1,000 interceptions and set up all the goals, right? He is such an important part of this team, and he makes this team so much better. And I feel like I say this a lot on these videos. A really good to elite defensive midfielder makes so much difference in a team, in a very good team in particular, because it can cover up so many cracks around them or just lift the group around them. A really good defensive midfielder makes the job of the center backs behind him so much better and so much easier, as well as an attacking midfielder in front of him. And when this team has Ricky Pooch, who his entire job is get on the ball, create chances, it is not really to defend. Like his FB ref scouting report is very funny he's like 99th percentile in all of the attacking categories and like first percentile in all of the defensive metrics, right? Like that's how they should be playing. Like when you have such a special player, Gaston Brugman covers up for that lack of defensive output from Ricky Pooch. That also helps when you have 2 center backs who are over 35 years old in Maya Yoshida and Martin Cáceres. So again, I don't think that Brugman is the only thing that is to blame for them being bad defensively when he wasn't around and for them keeping a clean sheet. Again, it does make them better. I also think further defensive help is on the way. They have a U22 initiative slot. They've been reported to be in for South American center back. I'm going to hopefully have some news on that today. I don't know. I'm going to bother people about that. We'll see. Look, last year's Columbus Crew, halfway through the season, I was saying a lot of the things that I was saying about the Galaxy to start this season. This is one of the most fun teams in the league. Their attack is so incredible. And part of the reason why they're one of the most fun is because they're so bad defensively and they try to play through it. And that's great for neutrals, but That's not great for the team itself in terms of being a serious trophy contender. And then the crew went out and got Rudy Camacho and Malty Amundsen midseason. And very quickly, it was like, oh, wow, like this team is one of the best in the league, and they are a real trophy threat. And then they go on and win MLS Cup. Again, I'm not saying that that's exactly what the Galaxy would do, but these defensive issues right now, they have every possibility to get better and to get to a point where they are legitimate trophy contenders. So that's what I believe here. Very early in the season, I think that Will Kuntz in that front office has a couple moves up its sleeves. Jalen Neal will be back at some point. So again, I there is a lot to like about the Galaxy, and again, I believe that it's as much substance as it is sizzle. Almost 5-side question number 2. What in the hell is going on with Luis Muriel in Orlando City? Orlando City drew the New York Red Bulls 1-1 again this weekend. Their attack is struggling, and there's no better microcosm of that than new DP forward Luis Muriel. Muriel has 0 goals in 541 minutes. He's playing like a number 10, except he's not creating chances. I have empirical data to back this up, but I'm just going to start with the vibes eye test proper football mate portion of this. He's kind of meandering around like he's Emmanuel Reynoso or Carlos Valderrama. He's like playing like a traditional special number 10, except he's not really creating chances. And this isn't his skill set. His skill set, like, I like that he can play as a second forward off of a target forward like Duncan McGuire. I really do believe that this can work, but it just hasn't. Like, he's been out of sync with his teammates. Like, he's not covering a ton of ground. He seems to slow the game down when maybe he should put his foot on the pedal, and then vice versa. Like, sometimes he'll be, it looks, you know, he has the pressure of, I need to make something happen. And except he's kind of picking it at the wrong times. Like, I don't know. Like, he needs to gel with his teammates need to gel with him. Again, I'm not saying that this is over, that it's a bust, it's a bad signing, but it is worrying. He's underperforming his XG, 64th out of 65 MLS center forwards and attacking midfielders so far this year. Again, very early, but it is very worrying. He does not make center forward type runs. Part of the reason why I thought that this would work so well with a player like Duncan McGuire or Jack Lynn ahead of him is that he would be able to find more space. He's not getting into the box at all. When he's getting on the ball, he's like drifting towards the touchline, or he's staying outside of the 18. And like, it's not the best analytical analysis, but center forwards get in the box to score goals. Like, that's where you find your repeatable goals. That's where you find your repeatable patterns of play that continue to make you dangerous. Luis Muriel is a special talent. He can score from 25 yards out, but that's not that repeatable, and it's not that dependable. So it's really worrying the way that it started. I asked Oscar Pereja on the post-game press conference on Saturday night about this. He didn't go too deep into detail about Muriel and what he wants from him from the game model. He did say, you know, something that I think is true, and again, I think can work, is that the idea is to get him in those pockets between the midfield and the defense. It's just he's not getting on the ball in dangerous spots. He's not running into dangerous spots either. So, again, like, for me, I'm worried. I think it'd still come good, but we'll see. Oscar Pereja, again, like, he was trying to not just single out Luis Muriel, except it's going to fall on this guy's shoulders. He's a DP center forward. He's got to be the one that's driving these goals. Here's a quote from Pereja after the game. At the end, as forwards, we have to make the quality pass, that quality finish. At this point, we're not finding that moment. Not just Luis, but we haven't had that final punch. Later, he says, certainly we have a lot of work to do. And that is true. Their fates are intertwined. Luis Muriel has to be very good for this team to be very good. Like, they were able to navigate Ercan Kara not being the greatest DP center forward. He was still scoring goals, though, right? Like, I think Luis Muriel fits this team so much better. I believe he is so much better than Ercan Kara. But the goals and assists, they have to start coming, and they have to start coming soon for a team that's struggling. Orlando got lucky this weekend. They should not have had a chance to tie it late. The Red Bulls absolutely should have put that game away. Elias Manuel had a one-on-one that he didn't finish. The Red Bulls were the better team in this game. And then Orlando got an own goal at the end. Atlanta United are cooking. Can it get even better? Atlanta United dismantled the Chicago Fire 3-0 on Easter Sunday. It was just a proper domination from everything from field tilt and XG shots, everything else. Atlanta were so very clearly the better team, and they ran past Chicago Fire 3-0. This in and of itself isn't like the most wild, incredible takeaway, like, wow, what a statement win. Because, look, Atlanta are the better team. Atlanta were home. Atlanta were favored in this game. Them winning 3-0 was indeed impressive, but it wasn't like, oh my God, what a result. I can't believe it. What I find to be so interesting about this team so far this season, Thiago Almada has been so pedestrian by his MVP level standards. He's got 1 goal, 0 assists so far, and that 1 goal is a penalty. The fact that Atlanta are scoring these goals and performing with these underlying numbers with this attack and the new midfield that they brought in with Bartosz Szelic to go along with this group is so impressive. And it shows you that this team has another level to hit, first and foremost. Almada had 11 goals and 16 assists last year. Almada was in the 99th percentile in expected assisted goals. He was 97th percentile in shot creating actions and 95th percentile in non-penalty expected goals plus expected assists last year. This is an elite talent in MLS. He's still one of the best players in the league. Like, when he starts getting going, this team is going to be even scarier. So that's the first track, that like in the interim, this team should get better. And the fact that they're not as reliant on Thiago Almada as they were last year is super impressive and super encouraging for Atlanta United. Secondarily, Thiago Almada isn't going to be here forever. If he leaves this summer, they're going to have a big problem. But they can point to this early season form where, hey, Almada's been okay. He's been fine. And we're still getting these results and scoring these goals and doing everything else. Like, this is much more, like, I didn't know if Atlanta had it in them to be this good attacking without Almada being a central part of it. So this bodes very, very well for this team moving forward, particularly like Stian Gregerson is out. They're Miles Robinson replacement. And they kept a clean sheet. Again, Chicago at home, it's a favorable matchup for this team. But look, they got the clean sheet and they're kind of undermanned in defense. So well done to them. And again, this could get even better. And with the theme of today, asking if teams are legit or not, this team is absolutely. MLS 5 aside. Question number 4. What's going on with Cucho Hernandez? Cucho did not travel with the Columbus Crew ahead of their 2-2 draw with Nashville. It was not injury-related, and it was not rest-related. Sources said this was disciplinary. I jumped on the Crew presser at the after the game. Wilfred Nancy didn't give us anything, which honestly God I respect, right? Like, you know, praise publicly and criticize privately. That's a coach you kind of want to play for, right? But all Wilfred Nancy said was team policy. I asked a few follow-ups. Does this technically mean it was a suspension? Like a few other things. Does this have anything to do with how he reacted to being subbed off last weekend? And he did not expand on those 2 words and just was pretty much like, I will not talk about it. Again, I respect it. I would love that. I would love to play like that. I'm sure all players would. I'm sure that it's a different story in the locker room and whatever meetings happened for him to tell Cucho, okay, like, you're not traveling. Again, he didn't use the word suspension, but if your absence isn't injury or rest related, it's a suspension, right? Like, whether you want to call it or not. So that incident last week, Nancy wasn't coaching for Columbus against Charlotte because he was out due to an illness. So assistant coach Kwame Ampadu was the acting head coach that day. The Crew went down 2-0 to Charlotte late in the game. They were already down a man, so Ampadu kind of waved the white flag and let me take out Cucho Hernandez. Cucho was not happy with the substitution. He initially started walking towards the locker room rather than the bench when he exited the pitch. It looked like Rudy Camacho got up and said, hey, you know, like, you come to the bench or whatever. The Apple TV broadcast panned away from it when it seemed again that he was upset. The next time that they looked, Cucho was on the bench. So again, it's not clear if this is exactly what happened, but if they're giving us no info and we have to deduce this, I feel pretty safe deducing that this is kind of where this all stemmed from. We asked Wilfred Nancy if he's going to be available in their CONCACAF Champions Cup match, leg 1 match against Tigres on Tuesday. We'll see, is all he said. Yikes. If Cucho's suspended also for this game, that's a really huge issue for this team. The only way that they're going to compete with Tigres is if their special players are special, and that's Cucho Hernandez. Look, we've commended Columbus for, you know, plug and play everybody. They still want to play the same way. Wilfred Nancy gets the best out of everybody from roster spot 1 through 30 on the team. Columbus versus Tigres, they need Cucho Hernandez. It's that simple. MLS 5 aside, number 5, Toronto FC. Regression to the mean. Toronto lost at home 3-1 to Sporting Kansas City. They won the XG battle in this one, but lost the game. Again, Kansas City were much more ruthless, and they were just straight up better. They deserved the win. Toronto has been impressive to start the season, but they've relied on some magic moments from their best players. And then now Lorenzo Insigne is out for 6 weeks, and they lose 3-1 to Kansas City. They still have elite talent on the field in terms of Federico Bernardeschi. Jonathan Osorio is a very good player in this league. You kind of go on down the list. But without Insigne, that's going to get much more difficult. Particularly Insigne is the one who has been scoring a few goals and a few very, very good goals. I still think this is a team that would challenge for the playoffs, I will say. But there is still a lot of underlying issues that made a lot of us think that they were going to be bottom of the East. Again, that's already incorrect. They're going to be much better than that. But with Insigne out, that's going to be an issue. Gavron has stepped up really well for Sean Johnson in goal. I thought he was very good on this day, despite conceding 3 goals. You know, he had a lot of nice saves. But, you know, number 9 is a rotating door for this team. if like that's a big problem, and that's a big problem in this attack, and why they need Insigne and Bernadeschi to have special moments, because they're not getting enough from center forward, and that's why John Herdman, it seems like every week he's got a new combination of attackers, and whether it's Bernadeschi at right wing back or Bernadeschi at 10, Jonathan Osorio playing on the false 9, Prince Owusu, DeAndre Kerr, like whatever it is, they're changing that every single week, looking for the right combination for a reason, and that's a bad sign. If MLS does indeed pass you can have 3 senior DPs and 3 U22 initiative rules as expected this summer, maybe Toronto go for it. We'll see. Who knows? John Herdman is certainly thinking about it. After the game, John Herdman says, at some point, someone's really got to step up and take that number 9 jersey. As a club, we're always looking. The transfer window's still open, but these guys are putting a hell of a shift in. We're expecting something's going to come from that effort, and we're expecting that it will come on time. So again, he ended that quote with, hey, our guys are working hard, and you know, I believe in them, whatever. But I think he let the truth slip out before that. Hey, the transfer window's still open, and we're still waiting for somebody to take that number 9 jersey. I think that's pretty clear. I think that's going to be the primary plan unless something changes. And look, Prince Owusu's been here since last summer. I liked that roll of the dice. It was a team-friendly contract. It was a player who had some success in Germany, but he had a physical profile that seems to match well in this league. And again, if you put somebody like him to have a center forward between Insigne and Bernadeschi for all of their issues, when things go right, it doesn't need to be a high usage it just needs to be somebody who puts in dirty work, gets in the right positions, and can score goals. It hasn't been Owusu so far. Again, that's why Jonathan Osorio has spent a little bit of time as a false 9. DeAndre Kerr was very good down the stretch last year. There's a lot of questions for this team. Number 9 is probably the biggest right now. But again, Insigne's out. Richie Laryea has been out. Sean Johnson's been out. Those are 3 huge difference makers at their position. So again, where they are right now, I don't want to get it twisted. It is nothing short of very positive. But for me, like this team, if they get 7th, 8th, or 9th in the East, that's a success this year. So let's just make sure that we ease on the expectations and what we think that they could be. And that goes for fans as well of going after receipts 4 games into the season. Probably not wise. But again, this team is better than we all expected, but maybe not quite towards the top of the East as maybe we were fooled a little bit into thinking at the beginning of the season. All right, that'll do it for me today. MLS 5-a-side week 6. Season is marching along. This week I'm traveling. I'll be at GA Cup. If you're listening to this and you're out there, say what's up, DM me, whatever. Looking forward to it. Looking forward to seeing the next generation. Last year I had a whole lot of fun in Florida watching these games. Hey, if nothing else, it's 50 degrees and raining right now in New Jersey. It's going to be 80 degrees and sunny in Florida, so that'll be nice, right? I'm going to come back. You're just going to see me red or peeling or something because I forgot. Because I forgot sunscreen, and I'm just generally an idiot and undervalues the use of sunscreen. Yeah, anyway, so that'll be fun. Hopefully I'll have some fun stuff coming from GA Cup in terms of analysis or some players. I don't know. We'll see. Catch you guys soon.